Good evening, all. One of the most sincere form of respect is actually listening to what another has to say. With this note, I would like to give my heartiest welcome to our resource person, principal, teachers, and my dear friends. We, the Department of Statistics, St. Thomas College, Thrissur, blissfully invite one and all here for second day of national webinar on research methodology with specific reference to social science and medical science. Let us begin the formal session by evoking God Almighty through silent prayer. Welcome the challenges. Look for the opportunities in every situation to learn and grow in wisdom. To welcome is to show honor, to welcome is to show integrity. I invite Dr. Sajesh T.A., Assistant Professor of Department of Statistics, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anushree. Respected Head of the Department, Dr. V.M. Chacko, respected teachers, scholars, and friends, on behalf of the Department of Statistics in Thomas College, I welcome all of you to this session of our two-day webinar on research methodology with special reference to medical science and social science. Today's resource person is Dr. T.H. Anza. Dr. Anza has pursued his post-graduation and doctoral studies from the Department of Criminology, University of Madras, Chennai. He has 5 years of teaching experience and more than 10 years of research experience. Currently, he is working as a research officer at the Academy of Prisons and Correctional Administration, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. He will deliver the talk on the topic Research in Social Sciences, Key Considerations. On behalf of the Department of Statistics, St. Thomas College, I welcome Dr. T.H. Anza for the session. And I welcome all the dignitaries and friends again. Thank you. Anza, please.
Thank you, the management of St. Thomas College, Thrissur, respected Dean, and faculty of Statistics Department, and my very good friend, Dr. Sajesh, and other concerned for inviting me to this national webinar on research methodology in social and medical sciences. And I believe yesterday you already had a session on research in medical sciences. So, and today my topic is focusing on research in social sciences. And Dr. Sajesh already mentioned that this is a wide variety of group consisting of graduate students to postgraduates and faculty. So I'm a bit confused where to start, because some are yet to start their research, but some have already completed the research. So I might be confused, and I don't know whether I'll be able to do justice to my responsibility. However, I will try my best and see that I will do at least some justice to the responsibility which is endowed upon me, entrusted to me. So with that, let me start the topic by stating that research is something that is with us every day. It's a part of everyday affair. And we use theory in a daily basis. For example, that maybe when we are making a cup of tea, that when the water starts boiling, we stop the stove. And it doesn't mean that the one who makes the tea is looking about whether he knew about the boiling point of water or something like that. But he knew that that is a maximum possible level of temperature water can reach in liquid form. Then it converts into gaseous form, which cannot be used for tea. So this theory, that is a relationship between the temperature and boiling point, is part of everyday life. Similarly, we knew we are making food items, and we don't keep it outside for long because it will get spoiled. And that the mother who keeps those food items prepared in the fridge may not know about the relationship between room temperature and growth of bacteria. But it is part of our life. So we are using science and research, theory in an everyday life on a continuous basis. So our life is basically existing on the use of science, which is and the use of theories, knowingly or unknowingly. So that is what the relationship between two things. One is we call the variables, and the theories are actually supposed to establish the relationship between these two. And the research is basically an attempt, that is, if you speak very simply, is to find the relationship between two variables. And we used to say that independent, dependent variables. So it is spreading across different disciplines. And now my focus is on doing this process of research in social sciences. And the word research, as we know, is search and research. So it is a process that do and again we do. And that is what it is indicative. It is indicative of that process only, that term we use research. So that when you start, Marie Curie once said that be less curious about people and more curious about ideas. Means we have to focus on ideas, phenomenon, rather than looking for people and their attitude. It means we have to focus more on the process and outputs with respect to the phenomenon, not about the individuals. That's how, even including social sciences, that is the motto that to be followed by researchers. And usually there are three terms when we speak about research that everybody knew. Every research starts with a hypothesis, and the hypothesis is processed, tested, and we may be enabled to establish a theory, because when hypothesis is a tentative statement of relationship between two variables or two issues, two problems, two statements, and the theory is scientifically proved that there is a relationship, and that becomes theory. And formation of law, we have several laws in science, but as far as social sciences are concerned, formation of laws are not easy or not as easily possible, because social sciences have this called less rigid in its nature, less rigid in the sense in terms of applying scientific method per se. Now, all of you must be knowing about the basic steps involved in doing research. So I will just explain that, to give a foundation for the forthcoming the following presentation. That because with respect to each step, there are specific considerations with respect to social science research, which is starting from problem formulation, that we have to set the problem, we have to state the problem, what is that we are going to study. And the next step comes that designing the research process. That problem says what we are going to, and research designs is how we are going to find out. And the following step, that how we are going to find out the data which is used to find solution for the problem, is leading to preparation of instrument which are required for collecting the primary data, because collection of primary data means that actually research is. And from where this data to be collected, from whom this data to be collected, we have to have samples, because social science is dealing with the society and that aspect only, social aspects. So we cannot go to the entire population. So we have to select the sample, and then these are all the theoretical part. These are all the part which we do on the desk, and then we are putting it into paper. That is becoming the proposal for the research. From there, we are going to the field, because basically social sciences researchers are taking up the. We need to cover a field which involves people, places, and events. And from that, we are going to collect data, and the collected data is to be processed and duly analyzed by utilizing various methods. There are several methods, including different statistical analysis. And at the end of that, we will be able to prepare the report, which will be giving us the result of the study that we are finding is result or answer for the problem or the question we asked in the beginning of the study. So these 8 steps are remaining same for almost all subjects, almost all disciplines in social sciences. Maybe here and there the methods may vary, but the steps remain same. And Dr. Sajesh, that we are continuously presenting, or are we stopping in between for how are we going to do about it?
No, you can continuously present. At the end, we will
continuously. Okay, yeah. Okay, so these 8 steps remain same for almost all disciplines, and a comprehensive understanding about the nuances involved in each step are required for a seasoned researcher. Now, when we think about research, I will be just briefly explaining about the various steps that when we think about formulating problem or the research statement, the statement of the problem, that is where we begin the study. The source of that question may vary. Sometimes something has happened, we wanted to find out the solution. For example, when I was developing a study about prison escapes, recently have completed. The problem before me was that escape is something that happens from the prison. People are in prison, inmates are running away from the prison. So the question was, what is that happening when a prisoner escapes, how it is happening, and how we can prevent? These are 3 questions they were. So I had to collect the methods which are used by the inmates to commit to do escapes, and what are the factors which are leading them to commit that. And the next question, of course, we have to have some solution for that problem, how to prevent that. So when we formulate the problem, we have to specifically limit the scope of our research. That what are we going to examine? We are not going to the furthest, because if we are not properly defining the problem, if we are not setting the limits, we will not be able to direct our research. So this is the first step. We have to be very clear, and if you are able to understand the problem which you are going to research, you are going to conduct research, half of the problem is solved. That clear understanding of the problem is a major step. Many occasions what happens, the beginners in research is unable to properly define their problem. Eventually this problem leading to difficulties arising in designing the research, preparing the research tool, in collecting selecting the samples, and following steps. So as long as, and I recommend, if anybody is attempting to research, you have to spend so much time in order to fix the problem that you are going to research. That means that objective, because problem will be leading to development of the objective of the research. So defining of research objective is the most important step as far as research is concerned. And the second thing, that when we are able to do that, we have to go for the formulation of research design. That means how we are going to conduct. Because depending on the situation, depending on the objective, the method vary. So we have to fix how we are going to conduct. It's actually, research design is a blueprint of research work, and that we will be fixing for the method. We will be fixing the methods, the research instruments, the sampling, etc., basing on this particular design only. And it includes the major step which says the study design. Research design, the major step included in the study design, and there are various steps we include in the formulation of study design, which starts from number of contacts which we are going to make, or number of references we are going to make, or basing on the period which we are going to study, or the nature of experiment which we are going to use. So sometimes we do a one-time study, which is known as cross-sectional study. Sometimes we will select collect data from 2 times, that before and after study, which is usually basically used in the medical sciences and all. Sometimes we conduct a study for continuously, we conduct from years together. So that is what we are going to make that longitude. Sometimes goes for 20 years, 30 years. That I will tell an example. Sometime back in UK, they have conducted a research study which is spanning across 20 years, which is focusing on the. Okay. Right. Focusing on delinquency of juvenile criminals. They have started studying a group of children, and they continue to observe them for when they become adult, when they become adolescent, adult, and it went on for 20 years. So sometimes the study goes for, and sometimes we conduct the study after something has happened. It is known as retrospective. Sometimes we will conduct study what is going to happen. That is called a prospective, and sometimes retrospective, prospective. Both occasions we examine. And the third aspect is the way we are investigating, whether it is experimental or non-experimental or semi-experimental, which is more in the case of psychological studies and all. So these are all the major study designs which we are adopting, and this has to be decided during formulation of the research design work, research design step. And basing on that, we have to prepare the instrument that to be used for collecting data. There are different methods, that starting from interview or observation, or sometimes you go for a questionnaire formulation. And these methods is again being defined by the way and the problem which we are going to examine, and also being defined by the research design we are going to follow, and which is followed by the most important step, that is known as sample selection, because sample is the sample population is a place where we are, or is a source where we are getting the primary data, which will be the foundation of our finding. So if we are collecting, information from the wrong sample, then we will be getting wrong information, which will lead us to wrong conclusions. Eventually, we will be failing our research process. So, after formulating the problem, the next most important step, I would say, in order of priority, that selecting the right sample from the population, which also needs so much of involvement and dedication. So much work to decide. And then the remaining part of making the proposal and collecting data are all maybe easy, because once the blueprint is ready, we can go ahead. And the next important step, I would say, after collecting data and all, the next important thing comes processing data and analyzing data. So processing data means to remove the unnecessary, or editing and removing the unnecessary part, and making the collected items pakka for analysis. And again, analysis as far as social sciences are concerned, this subjectivity of the investigator will definitely reflect on the result, including analysis. So the subjective approach and the orientation of the researcher, we have to reduce, we have to cut down the subjectivity. Then only we will be getting more objective approach. And it is again being decided by so many factors, including the school of thought to which the researcher belongs to, the orientation for the researcher has, and again one more important factor, what is the experience the researcher has in conducting the research. For example, a novice researcher will have a different view to analyze the data, and after putting some experience, the way you will look into the same data will be different, because you are already having some experience regarding the analysis. So all these factors will have some influence on analyzing the data. So, and as far as social sciences are concerned, the influence of these factors cannot be completely eliminated, but only can reduced. And one more important thing that I will be coming a little later, that regarding application of social sciences, application of statistical methods in social sciences, which we, myself and Dr. Sajesh, have a long discussions about this, and we have some conclusions on that. And coming back to that aspect that we are putting into paper. Putting into paper, there are, so many things to be discussed, but there are two things I would like to tell regarding the language which we use and the presentation of data. So language which we use shall be always straight and using action verb. And second thing, presentation of data, we have to use right method of presentation for especially when we are doing methods like a graph and etc. When we are using such things, we have to use right method, whether we are using frequency table or pie chart or bar graph or histogram, that should fit into the data which we are presenting. So these are all the key considerations. If you want me to put it in a brief nutshell, because it is research methodology, something like a sea. It is a very big ocean, and this is how I can summarize that aspect. And Dr. Suresh, can I continue?
Sure.
Okay. And as far as this research is concerned, the next question, why should we do research, is a question that is coming, you should come to our mind. And research is something, is the first step. The first step we are making knowledge. And there is a flow of this process. The start from data will be processed into information, and when information compiled for a period of time, it become knowledge, and knowledge which is combined with experience become wisdom. So ultimately, people with wisdom will be guiding the society and the science. The great scientists, the great people who are leading the society with the wisdom only. But that formulation of these wise men started from collecting data only. So I will briefly explain. Data means it is just unprocessed information. Just for example, you are observing, kind of study learning problem among the students, and that when you are going to your classroom, out of 100 students, you found that about 8 to 10 students are having a learning problem. So that is, you found that 8 students, number of students are there, and you also look into their gender. Out of these 8 students are boys only. So you have 2 data sets with you now. There is a problem of learning among the students, and out of there is 10% of students are having this problem, and all of them are boys. These are all data. With this, you cannot do much. We have to combine this together. That you are putting all this together, it become information. In particular class, how 10% of boy students are having learning problem. That is an information which we are having. And then we are going to find out the reasons and the underlying problems, and we research that problem leading to this particular phenomenon of learning disability among the students. We found the knowledge. There is a problem of students, the reasons which is leading to development of learning disability among the students, and that become. And over a period of time, if you are doing this research for some time, you will be able to sometimes predict also why these people are having, or in a particular class, will there be any students or any group of students facing this kind of learning disability, and how we can rectify that. So this is the development of a scientist over a period of time, from collecting data to becoming a wise man, having enough wisdom. So this is known as DIKW flow, DIKW paradigm. So this is something, if you are having that that orientation, you will enjoy doing research. And research is something to enjoy and do. That you will have to have a habit by finding happiness in doing research, by exploring the unexplored, learning the unlearned, and finding the unfound things. So that is when you are able to find some happiness in doing that process. Otherwise, research is something very, very boring work, and you will not have any other rewards for that. You may be doing for the academic purpose, for the purpose of publishing and all, but the actual pleasure of doing research lies in sticking on to this process and finding happiness in doing the research and acquiring knowledge and accumulating knowledge. That's why it become part of the knowledge base and become part of the wisdom of the overall society. And
excuse me.
Sujesh.
One person is raised the hand. I think they have some questions.
Okay. I'm sorry, somebody raised their hands. Okay, please ask.
Sujesh, okay. How we are going? Shall we answer the question and?
Okay.
Sure, you may.
I don't know who is raised hand, but we didn't see now. I think she left. Okay, we'll continue. They will ask later. Okay. Sorry, sir.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now. So after covering the basic steps involved in research and how this research is helping us to develop upon our knowledge base, which is leading us to the social progress after all. Now there are certain differences between the research and social science and pure sciences. The question of the subject of research methodology is known as scientific method. Because the scientific method has a step-by-step systematic approach and experimental approach, subjective approach. There are certain issues with respect to applying the scientific method as such in researching social sciences. First thing that we always have, the source of information will be more subjective and less uniform in nature. For example, if you are doing research with respect to science, for example, if you are doing research in chemistry, one chemical phenomena will be remaining same in India in a lab, same will be remaining same in American lab. There will be uniformity in phenomenon, the way which is happening. But as far as social sciences are concerned, that will be varying to a great extent. So there will not be uniformity in the phenomenon which we are investigating. Second thing, even the consistency of data for the same group, and that's also varying. For example, if you are boiling water today at 100 degrees Celsius, it will boil. Tomorrow you do, same will happen. After 1 year, same will happen. As long as the other conditions remain same. But if you are if you are experimenting with a group of people, today they will give, if you are giving a questionnaire, today they will give some answer. After a week, they will be giving a separate answer. The same sources will be giving different information, different inputs. So that will also affect us. And a third thing that is more difficult, the subjective approach, as already mentioned, that the research is not beyond his understanding, and so is also being influenced by his social background. So that will also influence the way he is preparing his questions or preparing his tool, formulating the questions, collecting the data and analyzing data. So this will also heavily influence the social sciences research, and which will in turn reflect in the findings and analysis. So same problem when being investigated by two people, unlike sciences, there will be differences in the conclusions. That is also there. So these are all the major differences or major difficulties while we are doing research as far as social sciences are concerned. But whereas we have certain possibilities also. Now when we are conducting researches in social sciences, it is more interesting because we are dealing with mostly living subjects, people or events where people are involved. Whereas we, for science research concerned, we are dealing with the inanimate objects, in non-living. So there will be more interesting and more wide in doing the research. Second thing, we are trying to make conclusions about human beings or related to their societal life. which is also interesting, more interesting comparing to the natural world, that we are studying our own group, our own brethren. That will also be interesting. And more importantly, social science researches are more important, even comparing to the science researches, that to make the society more progressive. Even if we are finding out, for example, we are able to find out, we are able to invent vaccines for the COVID, or for some other infectious disease. So that is an easy work comparing to the society to which we are going to give this vaccination, because society, there are so many people who are not willing to accept this vaccination. So we have to go and find out the reasons why the society, these people are not accepting the vaccination. What are the reasons? How we can approach? Are there any religious restrictions? Are there any cultural restrictions? So as far as myself, my observations are concerned, making inventions and discoveries in science is far easier than comparing to find them in dealing with the society to which the science is going to be used. So comparatively and more difficult also. So that is also one of the important possibility with respect to important as well as interesting possibility with respect to doing research pertaining to the social sciences phenomena. And I think I can come to the last part, doing the statistics aspect. I think I should make a reference to something, because Department of Statistics is conducting this program. So definitely they will expect my view on this aspect. Statistics, something is, statistics is a tool you can apply anywhere, especially in science or social sciences. You are there is enormous usage for statistics, the discipline of statistics, both inferential as well as descriptive statistics. And sometimes, many occasions, the scope of usage of statistical methods are limited to descriptive aspect of statistics. Very rarely we are going to the inferential statistics. There are reasons for that. We are aware of that. But use of statistics to be compulsorily be utilized in 4 steps, I would say, as far as social sciences are concerned. While collecting data, we shall consult a statistician, especially if we are using some tool, a structured tool like a questionnaire or interview schedule, because depending on that, you will be collecting data that will decide what kind of method you can use later for analyzing the data. Second thing, sampling. Sampling also you have to use whether you are able to collect or determine the proper sampling. You are able to use a proper sampling method to determine the correct sample size. So where also we have to use sampling. We have to use statistical method to determine the method of sampling and sampling size. And third step where we have to take care is during analysis. What kind of method, statistical tests are being used for analysis, and also while start from data entry again. And how we are entering the data, including sorting and editing data. The usage of statistical methods are very, very important, because if you are applying the wrong method to analyze the right data, you will get wrong results. If you are using the wrong data to do the right analysis, then again you are getting small wrong results, which will be useless. And the final aspect of interpreting results. Now you collected data using proper statistical method, using proper support of the statistics. You have collected data from the correct samples who were selected by proper statistical method, and you have analyzed data. You used several statistical tests. You have got some value. You get some numbers. But regarding interpretation, how are you going to interpret that result? How are you going to interpret that test? It is always keep it in mind that interpretation is the duty and responsibility and the role of the researcher, not the statistician. Statistician will not and he cannot interpret the result, because he is no way connected with the event or the issue under investigation. He is getting number and he is giving you a number. So this interpretation part, and many occasions I have seen interpretations which are funny, rather funny, it's sarcastic interpretations in social sciences, because statistician gave the interpretation. So this is also, I mean, and especially with respect to averaging and all, I am getting, I mean, when I am reading some research paper in criminal data, we are having averaging problem. Averaging is such a funny thing sometimes. In no way it has meaning and relevance. So there also we have to apply our mind, and we have to be very, very careful while doing interpretation of results of a statistical test in our social sciences research. So I think I thought I will make it 40 minutes, but it's only 35 minutes. Now I will wind up my introductory session. I think now we can open the session for questions or discussions or debates or disagreements, whatever you would like to call it, because by 8 o'clock we will be winding up the session. I think Dr. Sajesh, that will be okay. Thank you.
Yes. Please, dear friends, if you have any queries or doubts or, as he said, any disagreements, please kindly raise it down.
Or did my presentation become very short? I don't know.
No, I think we can have some discussions.
Yeah. Any questions or even comments are welcome? I mean, Dr. Sajesh, how are we?
No, I can just wait for 5 more minutes. It can be more.
Okay. Where I was able to cover the core of this topic, Sajesh?
Yeah, sure. Sure, because we have a heterogeneous, participant
group.
Yes.
Okay.
Answer, sir. So I have one comment on this slide. I was waiting for the questions. In Government of India, we have Ministry of Statistical Planning and Implementation. So they are conducting several surveys and several sampling procedures. I think this is the step involved in conducting a survey and producing a report. You have mentioned problem formulation, research design, and preparing the instrument for data collection, sample selection, research proposal. So to understand these steps, I think the participants can look at the reports of Government of India or Government of Kerala. That is the right method,
yes.
Right way to understand these ideas in detail, I think.
Yeah. Yes, somebody, I mean, see, in the beginning itself, I was a bit confused. I was a bit terrified that the group is starting from this to that end. So I was, a bit confused where to start, where to end. And I thought I will give social sciences, giving orientation on social science. Now, anybody has any question or any comment on this part also can, as I said, can raise up, especially statistics, sir.
സംശയമുള്ളവര് എന്തായാലും വരിക കേട്ടോ. സാറിന് മലയാളം നന്നായിട്ട് അറിയാവുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്.
അതെ മലയാളം, തമിഴ്, ഇംഗ്ലീഷ്.
നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കോഴ്സ് കുട്ടികളെല്ലാവരും ഡിഗ്രി ഫൈനൽ ഇയേഴ്സും അതുപോലെ PG ഫൈനൽ ഇയേഴ്സ് കുട്ടികളൊക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ തന്നെ അവർക്ക് പ്രോജക്റ്റ് ഇപ്പൊ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന സമയമായിരിക്കും, സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയമായിരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ എന്തായാലും അവർക്ക് ഒരുപാട് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉണ്ടാകുമെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. അപ്പൊ അവർക്ക് തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ചോദിക്കാം. സാറേ, ഇൻഫൈനൈറ്റ് പോപ്പുലേഷൻ വരുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഈ സാമ്പിൾ സൈസ് ഡിറ്റർമിനേഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ സാറിന്, അങ്ങനത്തെ അത് സാർ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അതിനെ ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യാറുള്ളത്? അതൊരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ
നമ്മള് സോഷ്യൽ സയൻസിലെ സാറേ നമുക്ക് ഇൻഫൈനൈറ്റ് സാമ്പിൾ വരുന്ന വലിയൊരു വെല്ലുവിളിയാണ്. നമുക്കങ്ങനെ
answer in English because
sorry. Okay.
Because
the question was in Malayalam, I thought of I answer in English. Okay. Yeah. See, when we have a very big problem with respect to when the sample goes in a very large population where we go with only purposive sampling. For example, I will tell about my experience when I was doing my PhD. My research was on elder abuse, because abuse of the elderly women in Chennai city, that is only city limit. But there were about 2 lakh women of age above 60 years and all. Now how? So I just collected the voters list, started marking whoever comes first. So it was a purely purposive sampling. That is one of the limitations. We cannot have a proper representation which is assured by using random sampling. We have to go for purposive sampling or judgmental sampling. That's only possible as far as social science are concerned, which will definitely affect the result. But we will get some. That's what.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
ക്യൂരിയോസിറ്റി ആണ് സാറ്. ഈ കുട്ടികളുടെ റിസർച്ച് ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള അങ്ങനത്തെ എന്തെങ്കിലും റിസർച്ച് ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ച് can you please specify what you really want to know? കുട്ടികളെ സാറ് ഒത്തിരി കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട് കുട്ടികളെ സംബന്ധിച്ച്.
അതില് ഇങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സ് എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാന്നുള്ളത് ടീച്ചർക്ക്.
The question is a bit vague, Sajesh. റിഫൈൻ ചെയ്യാമോ? I mean,
അതായത് കുട്ടികളെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള സ്റ്റഡി ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് എന്ത് മോഡൽ സ്റ്റഡി ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്? അതായത് ഒരു ചൈൽഡ് പോപ്പുലേഷൻ ആണ് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത്?
അതല്ല, ഇപ്പൊ ഒരു ടീച്ചർക്ക് ക്ലാസ്സിലെ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ഉണ്ടാവുമല്ലോ, അപ്പൊ അവരെങ്ങനെ ഇംപ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യാന്നുള്ളതൊക്കെ സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സ് എങ്ങനെ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാന്നുള്ളത് എല്ലാ ടീച്ചേഴ്സിനും അറിഞ്ഞിരിക്കേണ്ട ഒരു ബേസിസ് ഉണ്ടാവുമല്ലോ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട്. അവരുടെ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റിനൊക്കെ പറ്റുന്ന അസസ് ചെയ്യാനും അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ.
അതായത് ഞാനതിനൊന്ന് പറഞ്ഞോട്ടെ.
പ്ലീസ്.
ഇതിന് നമ്മൾ എന്ത് ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് കുട്ടിയെ നമ്മൾ അസസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെന്ന് ആദ്യം നോക്കണം. നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പം കുട്ടിയുടെ ബേസ്ഡ് ഓൺ ഹിസ് മാർക്കാണോ, അതോ എന്താ പറയാ അവരുടെ നേച്ചർ ആണോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മറ്റെന്ത് പാരാമീറ്റർ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് അവരെ നമ്മൾ അസസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നോക്കുക. ഹലോ രാഖി കേസ്. Based on which parameter we are assessing the children? That's a
ഓൺലൈൻ മോഡായിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ, ക്ലാസ് ഓൺലൈൻ മോഡാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അതിലുള്ള എഫക്ട് നമുക്ക് നോക്കണം.
Okay. So for
okay. That okay. Now, what kind of study design we have to employ while conducting such a study? I understand. Yeah, that is what I was telling. That kind of objective which we have will define the what kind of study design we will use. Now, in this study, we wanted to study the difference between performance of student before online classes and after online classes. Earlier, we were having direct classes. Now we are having online classes. Now, one thing we can do is a retrospective prospective study, which says, now just collect the performance cards of these students while they were attending physical classes. That is retrospective. That already happened. Then now, after they are attending this online classes for a period of time, collect their performance report. Compare. That is called retrospective prospective study, which will give you the result to examine the impact of this online study or difference in performance due to online study. That's how we have to look. But the study design will tell you, or study design will help you to find answer for such questions. Are you clear?
നമ്മള് മുന്നത്തെ പെർഫോമൻസും ഇന്നത്തെ ഓൺലൈൻ ക്ലാസ്സിന് ശേഷമുള്ള പെർഫോമൻസ് എടുക്കാറുണ്ടല്ലേ?
അങ്ങനെ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഇനി അവരെ തിരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് ഫിസിക്കൽ ക്ലാസ് തുടങ്ങി അതിനുശേഷം വീണ്ടും അത് എക്സ്പെരിമെന്റിലും ചെയ്യാം. പക്ഷെ എക്സിസ്റ്റിംഗ് സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ ഓൾറെഡി അവരുടെ പെർഫോമൻസ് നമുക്ക് ഫിസിക്കൽ ക്ലാസിന്റെ നമ്മുടെ കയ്യിൽ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. Okay, then now why should we go for back? Now we can do only effect of this. That you can just, because it's already available, the data available. If it is not there, then we will go for an experimental study where we First day we'll collect a group of students. We will conduct physical classes and conduct some tests, find out their results. Then we start with the same group. We'll go for online classes, collect the results, compare. Yeah, that's how we have to do. This is a very simple explanation, but there are certain technical nuances. When you are doing the research only, we can. Now the scope of this session is not permitting me to explore much.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And with regard to performance of students, sometimes if a psychologist, if we are looking at a psychologist, for example, my brother did his PhD of developing a program, psychological intervention program, to improve the performance of the students. So what he did, he developed a psychological intervention program, which he implemented with a select group of students for a period of 6 months. Then he measured the impact. That is coming under the psychological. So it depends on the discipline in which you are conducting the research. But if it's psychology, there are certain differences. Sociology will be different. So it depends. It depends. We cannot have a single answer for a single reply for this question, single explanation which fails. Any other questions? Or
so if you don't have any other questions, we can just wind up. Before that, I request all of you to kindly fill the feedback form which shared the comment box. It's for today's session. Yesterday it was separate, and it's separately for today's session only. Okay.
Yeah, if we are not no questions are there, I will share 2 experiences. So because it will be doing an injustice now. What do you say?
Sure.
Dr. Sajesh?
Please.
Okay. Now, when we are choosing a problem, there is a consideration to be given, especially with respect to the time available for conducting our research. If a time-bound project, we have to choose a topic which can easily be accessed and data can easily be collected. That is one of the consideration, especially for the new researchers I am telling. And for example, if you are going to study something about prisoners, obtaining permission to enter prison is a long process. That will affect the study. Or sometimes if you are conducting a study about samples for juvenile delinquents, their number is very, very less. And it will be very difficult to find our samples. So that will also affect the study. So while if you are starting a research, especially as part of your PG program or your MPhil program, one aspect that we have to consider is the time available to complete the project, the research. That is one thing. Second thing, regarding biases, and while doing research also, there will be certain things coming up. Especially while preparing the questionnaire or data collection tool, there will be some responses coming which will be beyond the scope or expected scope of the responses. Sometime back when I was doing my master's program, my study was about a community policing program, and my research was the community policing program is known as Friends of Police. It is Friends of Police is a kind of a setup where public are participating in that group and they help the police. So I wanted to study how the police people look into them. What is their perception about this Friends of Police volunteers? So I was preparing questionnaire, and I included one question on that. How you are looking at a Friend of Police? Are they subordinate to you or superior to you? Because they are public, so they can be superior, or subordinate because they are volunteers. And I go with only two options. When I went to collect data from a police station, one police constable took and he wrote, not superior, not subordinate, he is my friend. So friends of police, friend to my department. So sometimes that options are offered out of the perceived scope by the researchers. So that is one of the difficulties. Second thing, our myth. There are certain, we will go with the certain myths, which I will explain from our own experience with again prisons only. I am last 10 years I am involved in prison research only, and so my experience mostly revolving around on prisons. My study was about life in convicts. Life convicts means those who are convicted for life. And basically speaking, as per the exact law, people who are convicted, sentenced for life, punished for life will remain in prison till their death. That is the technical aspect. But the governments have powers to release them after completion of 14 years period or 20 years of period. That's why we have a belief that after 20 years they will be released, 14 years they will be released. But that is not the case. And we criminologists had a understanding or a belief that in a prison, the most obedient inmates are life convict prisoners. Now we thought that they are really corrected prisoners. Because of they have really corrected, they are behaving well. So as far as the prison population is concerned, the life convicts are the best prison group. That was our belief. We went and conducted a study. Surprisingly, we found that these prisoners are behaving well, that they are not actually reformed. But there is a problem. If they are not performing well in the jail, they will be given bad marks and they cannot be released after 14 years or 20 years. The government will not allow them to be released. So this fear about release is actually preventing them. They are not actually reformed. So that was a breaking of a myth among the prison officers that life convicts are really reformed. It is not really reformed. So there are several such kind of myths are prevailing among us, which is to be broken, which is to be, we have to eliminate such myths by only doing research. So not only this, there are so many things. So that is the responsibility of social science research, especially social scientists like criminologists, sociologists, psychologists, etc. So this is an area where research comes to our application. Now we found that these people are not really being corrected. Now that whatever we are claiming that they have been corrected is wrong. So we have to consider this application, this relevance with respect to social sciences, especially with respect to application of social sciences research. So I don't know how many of you are really appreciate or understand the scope of application in social science research. But as I already mentioned, the application of social research findings are much more than what we are having with the social science research, which is giving more importance. The problem is that people who are having research mind is not coming into social sciences basically. Only very few are there. So that I recommend that you have to develop a proper orientation towards social science research. Also, if anybody is listening there, then only we will have good, people, good social scientists. So I think I am winding up, and any comments or any feedback. I don't know whether I do justice to my topic, because I am not able to elicit any questions or any comments. I don't know. Maybe. Thank you, anyways.
Thank you, answer. Anusri, let's wind up.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That was quite informative talk. Moving on, we come to close our program. Thank you is the least I can say to you to show my appreciation for everything you have done for us. With this note, I would like to invite Dr. Gina Joseph, Assistant Professor of Department of Statistics, for delivering vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, all. This is the concluding time of our today webinar on research methodology. We have got two eminent speakers, Dr. Anil C. Matthew and Dr. T. Hamid Ansar, for these 2 days. I take this opportunity to thank today's speaker, Dr. T. Hamid Ansar, for the informative session by sharing your experience also. I'm sure it was very helpful to everyone who participated. On behalf of Department of Statistics, St. Thomas College, Thrissur, I express our hearty thanks to you, sir. I would like to express my gratitude to our HOD, Dr. V.M. Chaco, for his guidance and support, and all the participants for your active participation. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you,
thank you all.
journalists. Thank you, journalists. Here we come to end of our webinar.